All right. Should be coming any moment.
Oh,
Yay.
hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're good. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I always just feel more positive when I see your face.
I hear that a lot. I really do. But I have an explanation for that. So,
Do you?
yes, we'll be talking about it today. It's from my heart to yours.
All
So,
right. Well, so what's going on today? How's your day been? How's, your hubby? How's life? How are you adjusting to everything? What's going on?
it's been really a new season for me in many ways. That's how I've been looking at it. I changed my hair color, as you can see.
I kind of love it.
This is my actual natural hair color. But it's just been I've been very, very productive as normal. So it hasn't really changed for me, except for just, really being supportive of people out there, what's going on out in this world right now. So it's been nice to engage with people in a more meaningful way that are more present now. And
Yeah.
even on the lines outside, I just went to the market, same thing. And people were just so kind to one another. And it was just really nice to see that.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a different energy out there. Some of it is kind of weird. Like you walk outside and you don't really know what's going on, but you're seeing all of this, really positive stuff, like people
Yeah.
who I know they've like set up opportunities for younger people to help senior citizens go to the store. And then people are coming out with so much online virtual content and ways to help people. And I know with what you do, you can absolutely work virtually. So that makes
Yeah.
sense that not a ton has changed for you, but
Yeah.
can we talk a little bit about that, like what you do and how you're particularly helping people at this time, I guess?
Yeah, so I work in the mind space. I like to say that, like outer space. And I help people, individuals, as well as people in the workplace, which is one of my favorite places to work, because that's where most people spend their time in actually retraining their brain. And so it's like, I call it like a Build-A-Bear, except you get to build a brain. And because of neuroplasticity, I know those of us who remember that, I asked somebody that and they were like, I don't remember that. And I'm like, oh, but
What?
you're from the UK. You didn't have the Build-A-Bear in the UK. So my friend Andy, he's a coach. Yeah. So with neuroplasticity, people get really excited when I remind them and I let them know that if you just think of yourself as a programmer, all we're doing is upgrading your mental software. That's it. And people love that. So I teach people how to do it.
Oh, I love it. Are you still working with people who are part of corporations now? Or are you doing more individual? Has that changed at all?
Yeah, so I tend to do more groups and in medical firms, and I absolutely love working with medical firms because, those are high trigger environments, high stress environments, and I love to take care of people who are taking care of people. I'm a caretaker, always have been, and that hit me, and I said, oh wow, we need to make sure that our doctors are good, their mind is right, so that they can take good care of our patients. And the time that we're in now, you can imagine. So,
Yeah. What kind of shift are you seeing with that? Like based on, what you usually work with people and mindset, and then where is people's headspace at now? Where are those areas of opportunity that we can really be helping with?
yeah, I think that honestly, I've been really, really surprised at, and not surprised, but I would say like, just the ability to be resilient, the ability of people to be hopeful and optimistic. That's really where people are focusing on and just trying to find, like not knowing what the next step is and explaining that it's your mind is going to make you feel uncomfortable and uneasy because you don't know it. It's not a known. And the brain likes to operate in what it knows. And so being present moment to moment, cherishing these moments that we have, and then keeping ourselves open to our resources. So we have the best ideas, we have the best tool set in our mindset and our mental assets when we have positive emotion. And I know that sounds difficult for some people, but when you tell them the buy-in is that you will be much more helpful for yourself and others when you remain in positive emotion. And that's from the field of positive psychology, the study of what makes people thrive, even through challenging times.
And how much of that is, I don't want to say just a choice, but how much of that is trained? Like how much of that is something that people really have to train to do? Because some people seem, oh, they're just naturally optimistic people.
Yeah.
But so is that something that's trainable for anyone?
Yeah, and that's the great thing that the studies show that it is. And let's say you're a person that didn't grow up with a lot of positive psychological capital around you, and you grew up in a household maybe where there was a lot of fight or flight. You didn't really have good examples of what that looked like. The studies show that you can actually develop that and build that in your brain and expand your brain in that way, doing small little habits, you know, practicing like heart coherence, which is what I'm so excited about today, heart coherence and compassion and empathy and forgiveness and gratitude and appreciation. So the more you communicate those sentiments in your brain, the more I do this because I think of synapses fire. Like, these are my little synapses.
I'm like, I see it.
I'm like, those are the little things in my head, in your head, and when they talk to each other, they're firing and they're synapses, and that's how they communicate. I like doing this because it reminds me of them talking. And I'm like, well, we need to make sure they're talking in a positive way because this brain needs to be able to think on the upside.
That's so amazing that you can train that, because I think a lot of times people have this idea that, you know, that's kind of set in stone, or that neuroplasticity refers to something other than mindset.
Yeah.
So that's very cool to think of the term neuroplasticity. You know, I use it as a doctor, like thinking of, you know, patients who have traumatic brain injuries, or, you know, people who are trying to learn new skills. But it kind of sounds as though mindset can absolutely just be a new skill.
Yes, actually, they just found they have this research about the heart, and the heart has its own brain and its own nervous system and is neuroplastic. So, you know, all this data that's coming out is really, really fascinating. But what I get excited about, and I've told you this before, is helping people become their own mind coach. Helping people learn how to bounce back and build those skill sets, those resilient, I call them the PIT, positive intervention tools. Turn your PIT into a positive intervention toolbox. And so all of the emotions that you go through are so important. I'm not, you know, whether you're feeling down or negative in a moment or just honor that, like process that through so it gets out of the physical body. So I never skip through that. And then you don't want to stay in that lull, you know, and you and I have had conversations about this in our own health group, is that it's so important for us in the health field and wellness to honor our lows as well. We go through it as well too. So,
right.
Yeah.
So what are some ways people can actually do that? Because I think, you know, we're always like, oh, like recognize the emotion is the first step. Yeah. But okay, you know, a lot of times those things linger in your body, or you have a feeling in your body like, oh, I'm feeling anxious and I don't know why. And then we try to attribute that to, you know, an actual situation when maybe that might not be the case, and it's really just something that needs to get processed out of the body. So what are some tools that you can give us that are good for doing that?
Yeah, so really one that is really easy is just acknowledging it, because sometimes, like, let's take fear. A lot of times you hear people say, oh, fear is just displaced excitement. Technically, it is to the brain. The brain looks at fear and excitement the same way. But that wasn't working for me. That wasn't working for me.
You can say it so many times that it's fascinating, but then what do you do with that?
Right, like, I'm positive. No, I'm not. I'm not positive. I'm not feeling that right now. So I'm not a big fan of that. But there is something to be said in acknowledging it head on. The moment you just say, okay, I acknowledge you anxiety, or I acknowledge you fear. I know that you're here to keep me safe because we've been doing that. We've learned this pattern of behavior for so long, but I am so ready to go ahead and try something new. And the moment that you face it head on, the studies show that the amygdala, the fight or flight response, starts to soften. even just and taking the power out of the words, you know. So even just that data and you knowing that, I find that my clients do well by just knowing the data, and they're like, oh, that's what's happening. I'm literally taking the power out of the amygdala, no more fight or flight, you know. They get excited, and then you can access other regions of your brain and say, okay, I want to activate motivation right now, you know. So get the body. Another thing is get the body moving, right? And we've talked about that too, about getting oxygen to the brain and going out for a walk. If you tend to work at home right now, especially, I tend to a lot, but in general, people are working from home a lot. You know, every so often you need to get your body up and moving, because emotions do get stuck in the physical body. The other thing is, there's tons of video on this, you guys. There's EFT tapping. I am a master practitioner, and you tap on the ends of the meridian points, okay? And you can just say, this anxiety, you know, this anxiety that I'm feeling that's overtaking me. And as you tap on the ends of the meridian points, you send a soothing signal to the amygdala, and it just soothes it. I use this for my performing artists. My actors use it for nerves. And then you desensitize to that trigger, and then you can tap in more positive emotions to that. And they use it for PTSD too, for post-traumatic stress disorder. Yeah, there's so many. Oh my God, there's so many tools. I like to use humor. I talk to my brain.
Yes,
I use humor. I literally talk to my brain as if it's a person, because it's the command center of the brain. So, you know, I need to get in charge of it before it gets in charge of me.
Have you read that book that actually talks about this with like your inner roommate? What is it called?
What is it?
The Untethered Soul. This is like my favorite book.
Yes.
But when you think about it, it's so true. That idea that there's your brain is like your inner roommate talking to you, and you need to control it, because you would never, you know, these negative thoughts that we have, for some reason we listen to them. If it were an outside person talking to us, we would never listen like that. But because it's in our own brain,
well, I'm glad you brought
get control of it.
That is so, yeah, drive your mind where you want it to thrive. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because I'm a certified hypnotherapist, and you are most highly suggestible to yourself. So that little chatty Cathy can influence you way more than anything else. You believe yourself more than anybody else. So you need to separate sometimes from chatty Cathy and just put her back in her place. Okay. So you get what I'm saying? And the moment that you do that, you start rewiring your relationship with your brain, and that's what you want to do. So yeah. But and the humor, listen, with fear, I even say sometimes with fear, like I said, I use humor. I'll say, I see you, fear, I see you, boo, but I'm still walking through. And even just that, now I'm accessing my positive emotions, right? My heart is beating in a different way. It tells the rest of my body we're still good. And then I can just reverse that verse, is what I call it, and flip the script and create a new story out of it. Those are all my little things. I find that I love when people say the words that I give them, Jessica, I'm reversing the verse, so I'm flipping the script.
Well, that's such it's a much easier way to tap into what you need to do in that moment if you have a memorable phrase or words than just this grand undertaking of, I need to feel better right now and process this out of my body, and there's so much going on. But no, like, have your quick little sayings, your little affirmations that will keep you in line with what needs to happen in the moment. So I love that.
Yeah, you know, I had shared with our group, you know, I was going back to the women's prison, and I teach the women at the prison how to use their time to build a new mind. You know, they're behind bars going through this, guys. They're on lockdown right now. I just got an email from them. Can you imagine? And they sent me the most beautiful cards with some of my sayings. And one of the women she was saying that I'm practicing being my first hero. And hero stands for hope, optimism, resilience, and efficacy. And the more hero you have on a day-to-day basis, the more your brain builds greater psychological capital. So if those women can do it in Corona State Prison, so can we. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So, yeah.
No. And I understand, like, for everyone, it's like stress is relative. And this is definitely a particularly stressful time for people, and particularly for people who have not worked at home before, or who, their finances are at risk at this time. But in a time when it feels like there's a lot of things we don't have control over, it's really exciting to hear about, okay, well, this is something I can control, and this is how I can do that.
Yes, the only thing that you have that's always free is your mind. And those women always remind me of that. And so that's so important, and be willing to disrupt your own funk. I tell people that all the time. I am willing to disrupt yours, Nell. You disrupt mine. If I'm on a line like at Trader Joe's, I will say something to somebody, or the cashier, and they'll just start laughing, because sometimes people just really need you to be an interruption to their bad day. So if you do that, the studies show that you actually not only lift them up through their heart coherence, but you actually lift yourself up as well. So
I think that disruption piece is so powerful. I was on a coaching call earlier today with one of my business coaches, and she focuses a lot on helping us with doing guest posting and PR. And she said, when you are doing any type of writing or PR, or you're pitching something, it either has to be extremely on point and timely, or it has to be a complete disruption from everything that's going on. So if you're writing stuff right now, how can we possibly relate it back to the coronavirus? Or it needs to be some incredible positive story that people are so excited about to just have a break from everything. So I think even in the little ways we can, like you said, at the grocery store, saying something to the person at checkout, that little 30 seconds to a minute disruption from that like constant fight or flight that everyone's in right now is so powerful.
truly, yeah, it's one of my favorite things to do to people.
Disrupt things.
I disrupt their funk. I will not have and of course, like I said, if you're there's your friends and your support group, and we know also that people are most able to flourish more than anything. The number one is a connection to family, connection to friends. So tonight I'm having a double date with my I call her she's my little sister, really. She's probably watching, Melissa. And I said, let's do a Zoom double date. And she's like, yes, let's do it. So we're gonna disrupt the funk of what we normally do on a Friday.
That is awesome. I'm trying to get into like a positive new level of normal. Like I work really hard during the week, and then the weekends are often a time when Derek and I have to do our work. But Friday night is our date night. It's the time when everything kind of comes down. And I set everything up. I was like, look, when we're done with this live call, like it's time for our evening. I got my glass of wine poured. I'm ready. So
that's right.
Yeah, the disruption of all the crazy.
Yes, and I love that you said that, because we're working from home, many of us. So still have break the day. So for example, like let's say you've been working your 8 hours, or take whatever it is that you do, and you're going into like date night with hubby, or going out with friends, like do something to show yourself that that's it, I'm done. Whether it's a little glass of wine, a chocolate chip cookie, that's my thing. That's probably for everything, but I love chocolate chip cookies. But like what you just said, after this, I'm done. And then you are reshifting your brain, and you're putting focus on what needs your attention now. So I like that.
I want to talk a little bit about your journal, because is everything worked out? Is it okay? Great. We've had so much craziness with Amazon, but I really wanted to get it, especially with all of this happening right now. It's a perfect time for us to be diving into things like this. Like spring is a great time for new projects, and we have the time to do so. So talk a little bit about your journal.
Yeah, so the journal is actually, the methodology behind it is about helping people build their psychological capital, their positive psychological capital, with small little mental habits and behavioral changes. So I will give you a tip every single day. And after you come home from practicing that tip, you'll journal about it. And then there's creative imagery and visualization, the language of the subconscious mind, to bringing it deeper, those connections, those positive connections. And then there's child's play, where you get to draw images and doodle and sketch and bring out your inner child to see what it tells you. But I'm really excited about it, because it's kind of like learning how to be your own positive mind coach. And if you do this journal for 33 days to 66 days, what we want to help you with is changing the way your brain is structured and functions, and how you see the world, and how you bounce back, and to build again your hero mindset, hope, efficacy, optimism, and resilience. So the mind tips are really fun, by the way. And what I do with the mind tips, because you can't just tell me to, think positive. I need to know what's going on physiologically. My brain needs to get it. Are you like that, Nell? Like
I'm very much like that. I want to know the purpose behind what I'm doing. Like, none of this just like, oh, just take my word for it, you'll feel better. No.
That's hard for me, but if it works for you guys out there, kudos to you, because that's awesome.
You need it. Yeah.
More. And so I wanted to address everybody. So every mind tip will tell you physiologically why this works for you. And I think I think that's when people go, and they get that aha moment. They're like, oh, wait a second, I'm going to, turn off my phone at night 30 minutes before bedtime, because once it hits darkness, melatonin increases, which is important for sleep, for your brain to go into sleep therapy, which is what happens, and it gets rid of the toxins of your brain. So you're going to learn so much from the journal. And like you said, we've been having grace for Amazon. By the way, thank you, Jeff Bezos, because I emailed him.
I was going to say, do you mind telling that story? Because I'm so excited about your journal, and you literally had to fight with all of the craziness that's going on to make sure that we had access to it. So thank you.
Well, thank you, because you've been so supportive, and all my close friends out there. So today on Nell's show, Be Well with Nell, we can finally say it's available on Amazon. I haven't even told anybody else. I'm saying
oh my gosh.
now. So
excited.
So I'm so happy we get to share this moment. Thank you. But yeah, it was just intense. And I was like thinking to myself, okay, let's have grace for space. That's another one of my sayings, have grace for space. And with everything that's happening. And after 32 days, I said, okay, we need to escalate this a little bit. But again, you do it in a way that's as positive as possible, and you get the outcomes that you want. And hey, Tony at Amazon, you came through for me, boo. Thank you.
Shout out to Tony. All right. Well, you guys, I pinned on here BU Bloom, so you can see her Instagram handle and be able to reach out to Jessica if you'd like to, and get her wonderful journal that I'm so excited about. And then eventually we'll be releasing our podcast. Yeah, show it so when they go on Amazon. It's backwards, but you guys get the gist.
Reverse the verse. I can't.
Yes, if you go to her page, you'll be able to find it. So, Jessica, any last words you want to share? You've given so much great tangible info already, and they're going to get your journal. So, but any last words you want to say on this Friday night?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say something about the heart space, because I'm going to be writing an article with a cardiologist. I just love how all of our fields are coming together for holistic care of all of you beautiful people out there. And really the heart and visuals, that's the language of the mind for you to make these changes and create these habits, you guys. So when it's jagged like this, it's like when there's stress and negativity, you don't want to be in that state. So practice heart coherence, positive emotions, and you can use this in your workplace before you engage in like difficult conversations. And chances are the outcome will go your way, because your composure will be there. You'll be grounded, and then you're sending that heart signal out to the people all around you. It's amazing. We could do a whole thing just on heart coherence, but I just wanted to give you those tools. Okay.
All right. Well, we might need to do another one, because I'm super interested. So now that your journal's on Amazon, I'm going to go ahead and get it. Thank you for working so hard to make that happen. And thank you so much for being here on a Friday evening to share those tips with us. So
Yeah.
you guys, the contact info's there. Jessica, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and we will talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.